The CIA's research into the Ark of the Covenant's location may have accidentally revealed that there are layers to reality some may consider unsettling. According to declassified files, they may not have only succeeded in locating the relic in what appeared to be a Middle Eastern country, but they also stumbled upon the presence of a powerful, non-human intelligence their agents simply referred to as the entities. Welcome to Ethiopia, a beautiful country, rich in history and mystery, serving as both a cultural and strategic waypoint between Africa and the Middle East. Despite its recent troubled history, this country is believed by many to be the home of one of the most important and sought-after supernatural artifacts known to man, the Ark of the Covenant. Researchers and local tradition holds that this sacred relic has been in the Horn of Africa for 3,000 years and is today housed in the town of Axum. Under the watch of a select group of priests, the Ark's mysterious presence here may come at a price, as these guardians are said to perish young after only a few years of service. Some attribute the illnesses that afflict these men to an unknown power source that could be natural or supernatural, as illustrated in Scripture. Partly because of this power, it is believed that the hunt for the Ark continues, with influential global players over the past 100 years seeking to acquire it for themselves. For example, from Germany's Heinrich Himmler's search for occult artifacts in the 1930s and 40s, to the traumatic 2020 scenes of unrest in the Horn of Africa, the Ark has played a surprising role in both instances. In the latter, it has been reported that under the cover of the strife between Ethiopia and Eritrea, the Ark was a key target to be stolen and potentially taken abroad. Although Axum has never officially been confirmed by the Church to be the actual home of the Ark, with skeptics saying that what the Ethiopians have is little more than an ordinary box, many significant global events that appear non-anomalous could be considered as part of a broader, ongoing effort by several international organizations to contain, study, and utilize paranormal forces, blurring the line between the natural and supernatural. And when it comes to the Ark of the Covenant in particular, one such international organization that is confirmed to behave this way is the C.I.A. In the early 1990s, American archaeologist Vendell Jones emerged as a controversial figure in the search for the Ark of the Covenant. Armed with ancient texts and biblical lore, Jones claimed to have found evidence pointing to the Ark's resting place near the Dead Sea, just a 3-hour drive from my second home, Jordan, with Palestine being the first. By the way, both countries play a significant role in this unfolding mystery. A decade later, in May 2005, reports surfaced that Jones had consulted with Kabbalists, claiming he would discover the Ark within a little over a year. According to a relatively recent article from the Jerusalem Post, the CIA took so much interest in Jones's claim at that time, they actively monitored his archaeological digs to see what he would unearth. But why would the CIA, known for its involvement in real-world espionage and geopolitical strategy, be interested in the activities of a fringe archaeologist many might consider a kook or a crackpot? Well, the CIA has a long history of studying paranormal and anomalous phenomena, often as part of Cold War-era research into unconventional intelligence methods. This includes exploring telekinesis, the ability to move objects with the mind, and poltergeist activity, as part of broader investigations into global psychic and anomalous events. And of course, most famously, like other global governments, The agency also investigated UFO sightings, particularly during the height of public concern about unidentified aerial phenomena, in an effort to determine their national security implications. In 1977, Vendell Jones first gained attention for his claims regarding the possible location of the Ark of the Covenant. Shifting attention from Ethiopia's claims of possessing the artifact and inspiring an entire movie franchise, Jones' expeditions throughout the 1980s and 1990s focused on various locations across the Levant. He worked closely with local authorities, conducting excavations and engaging in discussions about the potential hiding place of the Ark. This was when he got on to the CIA's radar. They were not only interested in the Ark for its historical and political significance, but it was also a test subject to expand their research into parapsychological intelligence gathering. And this is where the story gets extremely weird and genuinely creepy. The research into the artifact's location accidentally revealed and possibly confirmed that there are layers to reality some may consider unsettling. You see, according to declassified files released in August 2000, they may not only have succeeded in their mission to locate the artifact, but also stumbled upon something entirely unexpected: a powerful and potentially dangerous non-human intelligence. Their agents came into visual contact with several entities resembling beings commonly found in Islamic eschatology and Middle Eastern folklore. And according to their report, these entities were observed destroying any unauthorized individual who attempted to pry open the artifact. Powerful creatures that resembled the Djinn. In December 1988, a now-leaked CIA report documented paranormal experiments undertaken by its agents to locate the artifact. These experiments were part of Project Sunstreak, an initiative which utilized the psionic abilities of participants to view locations anywhere in the world, using only their minds. If you have seen our earlier episode on the alleged paranormal encounter a U.S. serviceman experienced in 1980s Jordan, you may recognize that another name for Project Sunstreak is Project Stargate. This infamously controversial program sought to assess the effectiveness of remote viewing, or seeing distant places in real time, using the mind alone. Initially conducting paranormal research with the Stanford Research Institute in the 70s, and then the Defense Intelligence Agency in the 80s. The CIA itself has officially recorded some very intriguing, albeit unsettling, results from their search for the Ark that seems to be true, confirming that powerful paranormal forces do exist, some of which may be intimately connected to the artifact itself. The remote viewing sessions revealed that the Ark, referred to as the target in the declassified report, was possibly located in a Muslim country at the time of the visualization. It was described as being surrounded by Arabic speakers dressed in white, under the guardianship of other individuals or beings, referred to simply as entities. Based on this report alone, the nature of these entities remains unclear. They could be human, possibly the same individuals dressed in white, but the implication is that they were different, i.e., not human. If that's the case, given that we're dealing with an extremely holy artifact, that according to lore only the spiritually clean can remain in close proximity to it without being harmed, these so-called quote-unquote entities could only either be good Djinn or actual angels, the latter aligning with the famous design of the Ark, which features seraphim angels carved into its artwork. Anyway, another key takeaway from the CIA's report is the possible location of the artifact being within an Arab country, with the remote viewer suggesting it was in an urban area surrounded by mosques, indicated by the domed architecture mentioned in the vision. This places the artifact in one of three likely locations, perhaps Saudi Arabia or Yemen, Petra, Jordan, or Al-Masjid al-Aqsa. However, a counter-argument questions whether the CIA's remote viewer was even intimately familiar enough with the Middle East to form such an assumption. They state that the vision might have been of Ethiopia's Axum churches, and the psychic may have confused Ethiopia's primary language with Arabic. It's a silly proposition, but let's examine it further before we get into the even crazier theory involving Saudi Arabia, Russia, and Antarctica. They state that the domed architecture described in the remote viewer's vision, assumed to be mosques, could be mistaken for Ethiopian churches, given the Coptic and Byzantine influences on the country's architecture, which have strong Middle Eastern roots. For those unfamiliar with East African and Middle Eastern cultures, like possibly our remote viewer, this could lead to such misidentification. So, assuming that Ethiopia is the location seen in the vision, we then face the question, which ark was seen? Since many Ethiopian Orthodox churches claim to have replicas of the Ark of the Covenant within them. Well, the presence of supernatural entities guarding the specific one, or the target mentioned in the report, supports the idea that the artifact seen by the remote viewer is the original Ark. After all, why would paranormal beings stand guard over a replica? By the way, and on a side note, this was just one of several examples of the CIA encountering non-human entities in their intelligence-gathering experiments. The agency's Project Gateway, also known as the Gateway Process, involved test subjects undergoing astral projection, where an individual's consciousness was believed to leave their body and travel to other locations, or even extra-dimensional realms. Now, while participants in these experiments did not report overt face-to-face encounters with entities in an overt manner, like in the Ark of the Covenant case study, it is inferred that several may have encountered some kind of abstract, higher-dimensional beings during their out-of-body experiences. Ultimately, when it comes to Project Sunstreak and the Lost Ark, this was just one of several attempts to use psychics to locate the Ark, with only a few declassified files on the target being released to the public. So whether it is located in East Africa or the Middle East will for now remain a mystery until declassified, since it is technically a form of technology that goes beyond current scientific understanding. And such technologies and weaponized occult sciences can unofficially be considered as a nation's advantage or threat. For example, one declassified file references a UK newspaper article claiming that China sought to acquire the Ark of the Covenant to harness its power. Years later, a similar story appeared, although this time not associated with any US government entity, but still appearing in mainstream media, involving Saudi Arabia, Russia, and Antarctica. But this was not about the Ark of the Covenant, but concerning the existence of a second Ark, the so-called Ark of Gabriel, an insensitive internet hoax that may not only be connected to the Stargate remote viewing program in more ways than expected, but also linked to a 13th century coven of Irish and Eastern European witches. Yep, we are about to go extremely left field and bonkers in the next chapter.
In September 2015, a tragic event rocked Saudi Arabia that took the lives of over 2,000 people when a stampede occurred during the annual pilgrimage to Mecca. Following this, on December 24, 2015, 3 months later, an unlikely story involving the Russian Navy began circulating online. A rumor had begun spreading across internet forums that the research ship Admiral Vladimirsky had been dispatched to the Saudi port city of Jeddah to pick up a mysterious artifact uncovered by construction workers on the same day as the stampede in Mecca in September to transport it to a top-secret installation in Antarctica. The story states that the artifact, allegedly identified as the Ark of Gabriel in a leaked Russian report, was actually the cause of 2 disasters, as prior to the stampede, it had also caused a construction crane to collapse. Upon its initial discovery, when construction workers had touched the square-shaped artifact, it let out a powerful plasma emission, instantly taking the lives of 15 of the workmen present. According to a blogger named Sorcha Faal, who first broke the story online, the force of the blast shot up out of the ground and toppled the large construction crane directly above, collapsing on a further 111 people. Faal claims that a second plasma burst occurred later that month when another attempt to remove the artifact was made. This time, it left over 2,000 dead due to the resulting stampede. Following this, the custodian of the 2 holy mosques in Mecca contacted the Patriarch Kirill of Moscow, head of the Russian Orthodox Church, to discuss this artifact. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10 for how likely any of this happened in the way described, we're already at a -1. However, there may be some evidence. The basis for the conspiracy began with an apparently leaked report prepared by the Kremlin Ministry of Defense that stated that the launching of 2 satellites at the time were for the protection of the naval research vessel, the Admiral Vladimirsky, a ship which was traveling from Jeddah with the Ark of Gabriel on board, whose importance is deemed so vital that President Putin in the report labeled the find as of a critically military religious significance, which leads us to the question, what exactly is this Ark of Gabriel? In Islam, we believe that the Archangel Gabriel is one of the key figures in the religion and that he was constantly interacting with Muhammad in its formative years. However, if you were to ask any Muslim what do they know about the Ark of Gabriel, they would probably say that they have never heard of it. Furthermore, according to the lore that has developed around it, the artifact that is similar to the biblical Ark of the Covenant is seemingly derived from an apocryphal knowledge that exists way outside of mainstream Islam, and apparently also outside of the Middle East. Faal states that at some point the Russian Patriarch was contacted because the Russian Church held an ancient Islamic manuscript that had survived the Crusades. The manuscript is said to be an instruction manual on how to operate the Ark, and states that the Archangel entrusted the object to Muhammad, who told him to bury it at a place of worship the angels used before the creation of man. This location is in the heart of Arabia. The document explained that it was to be kept hidden there until Judgment Day. According to the leaked report, although there is no obvious mention that this anomalous object is an actual weapon, the 2 energy discharges that are said to have resulted in the death of so many people in September 2015 is meant to be evidence that the Ark can be reverse engineered once it is understood. However, serious doubts plague the authenticity of this report. When we try to track down the origins of the story surrounding the discovery and removal of the Ark, a story that has been reproduced countless times across YouTube and various websites, and even in the UK's Daily Star, a popular tabloid newspaper, all reports led back to one source: WhatDoesItMean.com, the website belonging to the blogger Sorcha Faal. Prior to the 2015 incidents, no mention of the Ark can be found in Google History search, online academic research papers, or even in the conventional books uploaded to the net. It's as if before the incident took place, the Ark never existed. Of course, we are aware that confirming the existence of an artifact based on a 20-year internet search history is problematic in itself. It's still at the very least a huge red flag that questions the authenticity of the story. Other holes in the tale include the questions: how did they eventually remove the artifact from Mecca to Jeddah and from Jeddah to the Antarctica, undetected and without any further loss of life? And why would Saudi Arabia even hand over such a powerful discovery to another country instead of trying to understand it, even if it took years to do so? It is Faal who first directly references this Russian military report, but as of when this video was uploaded, she is the only person connected to the widespread release of the story that links the real Russian naval maneuvers in the Gulf's waters with the two disasters in Mecca. So the real question is, who, or even what, is Sorcha Faal? This is an important question in solving the riddle of the Ark of Gabriel, because this is not the first anomalous event originating from the Middle East she claimed to have exclusive knowledge about. As covered in previous episodes, in the early 2000s, reports began appearing on various internet forums and even in mainstream media about a seemingly large-scale paranormal event occurring off the coast of Yemen. According to Faal, an alien wormhole as a result of a stargate located somewhere between Yemen and Somalia had become a cause of concern for Russian scientists as a potential global security threat. The evidence for this came via an apparently leaked report Faal had obtained. Unfortunately, when we tried to verify the origins of this report, all roads led back to whatdoesitmean.com again. Zero evidence for the existence of such a phenomena can be found prior to the claims this website has made, and all subsequent independent reports and interviews with alleged whistleblowers connected to an alleged global cover-up in Yemen at best appear to be derivative works of fiction based on the initial report Faal had made, with zero evidence to back them up.
Now, at this point, you might be asking why we are focusing so much on the writings of a random internet troll or trollish blogger from the mid-2000s and their manufactured story about a lost ark. Well, it all goes back to the CIA and their hiring of humans with psionic and a range of other paranormal abilities. But this time, not just for gathering information, but spreading disinformation, allegedly. In 2005, Sorcha's website first claimed that she was a Russian scientist and academic. This could, in theory, explain how she might have access to information related to alleged leaked Russian reports. However, by 2009, even the alternative theory community began to question the authenticity of this individual, after extensive background research revealed that there is no record of anyone by that name in Russian academia. Seemingly in response to this criticism, the website then claimed that Sorcha Faal was not a person's name, but a title from the Order of Sorcha Faal, suggesting a darker, esoteric basis for what whatdoesitmean.com might represent. Now the details concerning this order have gone through some significant changes since we first encountered them a few years back, but as of today, their website states that they are a multi-generational coven of witches that was established in 588 in Ireland, with monasteries in Russia, Egypt, and Lebanon, as well as the United States, and that the current Sorcha Faal is the 73rd. A close examination of the website, What Does It Mean, even hints at this, with Wicca and New Age iconography appearing across it. However, this is just one theory. A more plausible, albeit less exciting explanation involves a lone figure named David Booth, a well-known internet hoaxer responsible for numerous sensationalist hoaxes with a political edge. You see, Sorcha Faal is the fictional alter ego of Booth, and according to his website, he has worked with Russian, US, and other global agencies. Furthermore, he claims to possess precognitive abilities or extrasensory perception, the supernatural ability to foresee future events, implicitly connecting himself, under this Sorcha Faal pseudonym, to Project Stargate and Project Sunstreak. Now, while these programs, including the Gateway Project, are legitimate paranormal studies with verified results, Booth's involvement in topics of the arcane and his own paranormal abilities are a bit of a gray area. case studies concerning his ability to see future events has been well documented across various media, with one notorious event concerning the doomed flight of American Airlines 191 in 1979, garnering him some fame due to his premonition apparently coming true. However, when it comes to him reporting on other anomalous events, not concerning his own alleged paranormal abilities, but for some reason nearly always concerning Russia, we are unfortunately, for the most part, seem to be in the realm of science fiction, bringing us to the question, why? One theory, which ties back to his fabricated Ark of Gabriel narrative and the broader mythos surrounding the Ark of the Covenant, suggests that it might be a tactic to sow confusion. Some speculate that after his accurate premonition about the American Airlines incident, Booth may have been recruited by the FBI's counterintelligence program to spread disinformation. For context, from the 1950s through to the late 1980s, and even today, there has been a notable rise in global reports of anomalous phenomena, ranging from UFO sightings to cryptid encounters with creatures like dogmen, skinwalkers, and other Djinn-like entities. In many of these cases, authorities may not have wanted such stories taken seriously, so theoretically to combat this, numerous fake stories could have been released to the media, stories that are easy to debunk, thus casting a skeptical shadow on all genuine paranormal-related encounters. In other parts of the world, such as here in the Middle East, many people accept the existence of Djinn, and although only a fraction of us believe that they can literally, physically interact with humans or appear in our world, the belief in the paranormal remains, as it is more or less culturally ingrained. However, in more secular societies, like the United States, an increase in real incidents could potentially cause significant social and cultural disruption. This might explain why Booth, in theory, could engage in such government-directed disinformation activities. However, this remains pure speculation. Suffice to say, over the past 20 years, news sources from the New Republic magazine to Coast FM have covered this individual enough to cast serious doubt about any real connections to any global agency, at least in the way he describes. Historian and anthropologist Jason Colovito notes that the story of the Relics' discovery is a blatant hoax rooted in xenophobia. He argues that its core element fits a fear-driven narrative with echoes of several end-of-days type scenarios. Colovito adds that despite claims about the existence of an ancient manuscript held by the Orthodox Church, serving as an operating manual for the Ark, there is no actual evidence supporting its existence. In the end, if Booth was, or is, a psychic working within the CIA, and if a second Ark does exist, its story isn't the one that's been spread across the internet, as that appears to be nothing more than a fictional stand-in for the Ark of the Covenant. And while Russia plays no role in the Covenant's real-life story, Saudi Arabia and Antarctica does. The former within a historical Quranic and biblical context, and the latter concerning the Germans, the Vatican, and even aliens. Around sometime in the mid-10th century, the historian al-Mas'udi wrote the compendium called The History of Time. In this book, we find references to the Archangel Gabriel and references to a powerful Ark device sent from God, as well as the importance of the location of Mecca. However, do these connections validate any of David Booth's story, at least concerning its location, and not the tragedies he claimed happened because of it? On the latter, no, of course not, but on the former, maybe. You see, it definitely aligns with what the CIA's remote viewers saw in their visions 2 decades earlier. If indeed an Ark is kept in an Arabic language country, Saudi Arabia certainly fits that description. But for any of that to be true, we must consider the Ark of the Covenant, rather than the fictional Ark of Gabriel, and perhaps the theory that at some point it was moved from the Middle East to Antarctica. Now, when it comes to Antarctica, truth becomes stranger than Booth's fictional Ark of Gabriel narrative. Around the time Admiral Vladimirsky allegedly traveled from Jeddah to Antarctica, Patriarch Kirill also made a highly publicized journey to the continent, which some suggest was a cover for a supernatural ritual. You see, there is a belief that Antarctica serves as a gateway to a hidden hollow Earth civilization, where aliens or other supernatural entities could exist. The idea suggests that either the ancient Hebrews, a lost advanced civilization, or later secret societies, such as the Templars, discovered or transported the Ark to this remote and isolated region to keep its power hidden from the world. As covered in one of our earlier episodes, one of the key elements fueling this theory is the real-life German expeditions to Antarctica conducted in the late 1930s. The Germans established a base in Queen Maud Land, calling it, and forgive my butchering of the pronunciation, Neuschwabenland, where they are rumored to have practiced bizarre magical rituals and conducted research into alien or advanced ancient technology, allegedly discovered there. It's known that one of their missions was to find occult artifacts. Relics believed to possess anomalous power were to be reverse-engineered for use as technology. According to legend, the Germans may have found the Ark beneath the ice or transported it here for experiments in order to eventually unleash it against the world. Germany's interest in Antarctica was partly fueled by its fascination with understanding esoteric knowledge. Under Heinrich Himmler's doctrine, there was a notion that Antarctica may have mystical qualities, making it a possible location for the Ark. However, the best institute suited to assist them in this mission to find the relic in a more plausible location was the Vatican. In 1933, the Vatican signed a concordat with the Germans to protect the rights of the Catholic Church in Germany, forging a relationship between the two governments before the coming trouble. Given that the Ark is a religious artifact, if it wasn't already a part of the Vatican's vast collection of biblical relics, they'd at least know where and when to begin looking. Following its disappearance after the Babylonian conquest of what was then known as Jerusalem in 586 BCE, once again sorry about the pronunciation, it's believed that it was transported across the region to be hidden in either Yemen, Jordan, Egypt, or Ethiopia, after which it then made its way to the Vatican. Outside of the Vatican and Ethiopia as possible locations for the Ark, the aforementioned Al-Aqsa, otherwise known as the Temple Mount, is perhaps one of the most popular theorized hiding places for it, which brings us to one of the most famous anomalous events to ever take place in the heart of the Levant in modern times. A UAP sighting that was captured on camera and made international headlines. An event that some believe could be connected to the Ark, possibly hidden there.
Attends, ouais?
Ouais, moi aussi. Oui, tu t'es mis au tour de balle? Ouais, non,
Non, no, quella non l'ho
moi aussi. Ciao, non.
Yo!
In 2011, this now infamous UFO sighting above the Temple Mount went viral across social media. While mainstream media and even some esoteric media outlets that normally champion these type of events have dismissed it as a hoax, many still believe in its authenticity and are not only convinced that the event did take place, but a cover story of disinformation crediting the anomaly to a college project or something benign was manufactured afterwards. However, unlike the Gabriel hoax, which would have been hugely historic if real, there have been many smaller-scale events all over the world similar to what was filmed here, giving it a little more credibility, while admittedly still being highly questionable. Regardless, this sighting remains highly debated, especially given its location over a site sacred to all three Abrahamic religions. The same site believed to house the Ark of the Covenant's location, aligning with that CIA remote viewer's vision, which described the Ark in a setting with domed buildings, possibly mosques. However, the religious sensitivity surrounding this historical location complicates any efforts to explore it for archaeological purposes. Conversely, some evangelical Christians believe the Ark may lie beneath the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, or alternatively discovered by amateur archaeologist Ron Wyatt in a cave beneath Golgotha. This theory has grown in popularity even after Wyatt's 1999 passing, despite skepticism from many evangelicals and mainstream scholars about his claims, since he never produced any tangible proof. However, his supporters argue that powerful organizations continue to suppress his findings to protect quote-unquote established historical narratives. They also suggest that the revelation of Wyatt's discoveries is part of a divine plan, in much the same way some Islamic eschatological teachings state that the real Ark will only be revealed to the world as part of a series of events connected to the end of days. Anyway, in conclusion, could we really have more than one Ark out there? Some speculate that there may actually be several supernatural Ark-type devices scattered across the region, a theory we did not have time to examine in this episode. But did Saudi Arabia really collude with Russia to hide one and ship it to Antarctica, as Sorcha Faal, the pseudonym of David Booth, claimed? The answer is a resounding no. Here we are clearly in the realm of science fiction, or simply being trolled. And why would we say that? Well, for several reasons. Number one, going back thousands of years, even into obscure Middle Eastern libraries of the occult, there are no records or even any known references in Islamic or broader Arab literature that speak of such an anomaly. The closest comparable artifact we have is the Ark of the Covenant, which Faal makes clear is an entirely different artifact. That does not mean there are definitely no other arks out there, just that this so-called Ark of Gabriel is not one of them. Secondly, the source is completely unreliable. There is zero evidence that can corroborate any of the supernatural aspects of the story as ever taking place, with the only source unfortunately being a well-known internet hoaxer. Furthermore, we even personally know people who were in Mecca the day the alleged anomaly activated, who have eyewitness stories that contradict Faal's narrative. In fact, there are thousands of people who can testify against his story. That being said, is David Booth truly a psychic working with the CIA and other global organizations dealing with the paranormal, as we've theorized? Well, while his premonition of the 1979 plane incident was eerily accurate, suggesting that at least at one time he possessed psionic abilities, there is no evidence to suggest that he, under the guise of Sorcha Faal, has any real connection with such government organizations. For example, according to an article in the New Republic that provides a deep dive into this Faal persona and tracked its online evolution via his website, Booth claimed to be an ex-CIA operative, but they state that there's no proof to support this, so who knows? In all likelihood, David Booth seems to be running a grift, as the kids would say, to gain internet notoriety, whether he's acting alone or as part of a shadowy disinformation campaign. But if that explanation feels too safe, boring, or convenient, consider this. If he does have the backing of such an organization, it may not be governmental or corporate at all, but instead, our coven of witches. And on that theoretical supernatural twist ending, ultimately, the Ark of the Covenant remains one of the most significant historical artifacts in global lore. And even though this episode spans over 40 minutes, we've barely scratched the surface regarding the Vatican's involvement, extraterrestrial connections, the interest of various global intelligence agencies and secret occult organizations, or whether the Ark is even a supernatural artifact to begin with. Anyway, in the next episode, we return to the Horn of Africa to explore the fine line between technology and the supernatural. We'll delve into terrifying encounters with the region's werewolves and dogmen, asking whether these beings are interdimensional cryptids or the result of scientific experiments gone wrong. Until then, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think the Ark is in East Africa, the Levant, or Europe? What are your thoughts on the CIA's involvement and findings concerning the Ark, and what role do you think it will play if it's ever uncovered? Sound off in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.